At the beginning of the movie, we see a man named Marco meeting a Russian gangster. Marco gives a bag full of money to the gangster and asks, "Where's my stuff?" The gangster hands him a car key and says his item is in the car trunk. Marco takes the key, leaves the place, and destroys the entire warehouse where they met. When he opens the trunk, he finds a suitcase. After picking it up, the scene shifts. Next, we are introduced to the main character, Ethan, who is with his wife. Today, he learns that his wife is pregnant, and he is thrilled. It's Christmas, and both of them work at the airport, so they go for job together, since it's a holiday. But because of Christmas, the airport is very crowded. Ethan, who works in the security department, is briefed on how to handle today's busy schedule. Later, Ethan speaks with his boss and asks for a promotion. He doesn't want to work in the boarding area anymore, checking passengers. Instead, he wants to handle luggage scanning. His boss hesitates to make such a change on a busy day like today. However, Ethan's friend Jason helps him by convincing the boss to let them switch roles. Eventually, Ethan gets to work in luggage scanning. The scene shifts and we see an RV parked outside the airport. Inside, a man named Riley has kidnapped someone. Within minutes, Riley hacks all the airport security cameras. Meanwhile, another person is sent to Jason's house to kidnap his family. Riley checks airport through hacked CCTV footage on his phone, but he's surprised to see Ethan sitting at the scanner instead of Jason. From this, we can understand that Riley and his team are criminals planning something big. Now, they decide to dig into Ethan's background to find a way to pressure him. Within minutes, a hacker gathers all of Ethan's personal information. They discover that Ethan has no family except his wife. After learning this, they send someone to Ethan's house. From a report there, they find out that his wife is pregnant. The criminals decide to use this information to weaken Ethan emotionally. At the airport, someone hands Ethan an item, claiming it belongs to him, but Ethan immediately says, "This isn't mine." At that moment, he receives a text message on his phone that says, "Put this earphone in your ear." Confused, Ethan picked up the earphone and placed it in his ear. As soon as he did, a man started speaking to him. The man said, "If you care about your life and your wife's life, do exactly what I say." Ethan was puzzled and didn't understand what was going on. The man continued, "You don't have to do much. In a few moments, a man wearing a red cap will come to you with a suitcase. All you have to do is scan it and let it pass without saying anything. If you do this, you and your wife will live." To ensure Ethan didn't try to outsmart them, the man made it clear that they were watching him closely. He even mentioned that they knew exactly where Ethan's wife was at that moment because Riley had provided him with all the information. Hearing this, Ethan felt scared and tried to contact the police by discreetly placing his phone under the desk. However, the criminals were monitoring him closely. They saw this and warned him, "Hang up the phone. Don't try to involve the police or something bad will happen. Believe it or not, one of my men has a rifle pointed at your wife's head right now. Any mistake from you and she'll be dead." While Ethan was speaking to the man, the police had picked up his call, but Ethan couldn't tell them anything and had to hang up. Seeing this, the man knew Ethan would now follow their orders. He then forced Ethan to put his mobile phone in the locker. Ethan asked him, "Are you a terrorist?" The man replied, "No, I'm not a terrorist. I was told to do this job." Thinking hard, Ethan asked, "What's in that suitcase anyway?" The man said, "You don't need to know. And even if you find out, keep your mouth shut. If that suitcase doesn't reach the plane or if someone opens it, both you and your wife will die." Ethan then said, "I'm sitting here now, but what if Jason was here instead? What would you have done then?" The man replied, "Jason would have agreed to do this too, just like you, because we've kidnapped his family as well." These people had planned everything thoroughly. Ethan tried to be clever again by writing a message on his smartwatch. Riley, who was sitting in a van outside the airport and had hacked the CCTV cameras, noticed it. Riley informed a man to talk with Ethan about it. The man told Ethan, "You're making mistakes again and again. I won't give you another chance. Go and put your smartwatch in the locker too." Ethan followed their instructions and realized that sitting there wasn't helping him. The scene cuts, and we see the police officer Elena goes to the location where Marco had met the Russian gangster the day before. While investigating, she finds the Russian gangster's watch near his dead body. Elena examines the watch and discovers a recording chip inside. Although the chip was burned in the fire, she submits it to the forensic department and requests them to recover any possible data from it. The forensic team manages to retrieve some data, but the audio quality is very poor due to the damage caused by the fire. Next, we see Ethan again. The man speaking to him says, "My associate will arrive shortly." Before that, let's talk. Ethan tries to figure out the man's location by listening to the background noise during their conversation. He realizes that the man cannot see him directly. Taking advantage of this, Ethan quickly gets up, grabs a nearby boarding pass, writes something on it using invisible ink, and passes it to the police. However, Ethan doesn't realize that Riley is monitoring him through CCTV cameras. Riley notices this and informs the man who is talking to Ethan. Meanwhile, the police understand what's going on, but before they can act, the man intentionally bumps into one of the officers. During the bump, he injects something into the officer, which instantly kills him. When Ethan returns to his seat, he finds that the man is no longer there. He looks around and finally spots him in the crowd. Amid the chaos caused by the officer's death, the man uses the opportunity to grab the boarding pass from the police and slip away. As his face is revealed, it becomes clear that he is Marco, the man who killed the Russian gangster at the beginning of the movie. Ethan then sits next to Marco. Marco reads the boarding pass and sees what Ethan wrote on it. After reading it, Marco says, "I see you keep making mistakes, but this is your last chance. I'll forgive this one. If you make another mistake though, I will kill your wife. Don't think of it as a threat. I will do it. Now go back to your scanner and do your job quietly." As Ethan heads toward the scanner, he notices that Jason is now sitting in his place. Due to the chaos caused by the officer's sudden death, security at the airport has been tightened. To manage the situation, the boss ordered Jason to take over Ethan's position. When Marco learns about this, he says Ethan to tell Jason to move and take his place. Ethan first tells his boss, but the boss explains that the security situation has changed a lot. "I can't remove Jason from the scanner." Understanding the seriousness of the situation, Ethan gets a coffee, mixes alcohol into it, and places it on Jason's table. Then he complains to the boss about Jason. When the boss sees the coffee with alcohol on Jason's table, Jason is fired on the spot. Jason keeps saying, "This coffee isn't mine," but no one believes him. The scene shifts to a police officer who is repeatedly listening to a recording. From it, he learns about a deadly chemical. Wherever it spills, it destroys everything around it. The scene then goes back to the airport. After framing Jason and taking his spot, Ethan sits at the scanner. Soon, Marco's men bring a bag for scanning. Following Marco's orders, Ethan scans the bag and realizes it contains a highly dangerous weapon. Although he doesn't fully understand what it can do, he knows it could destroy the entire plane. Later, it's revealed that the same deadly chemical, which Elena was researching earlier, is also on the plane. The pressure overwhelms Ethan and he feels sick. He rushes to the washroom and runs into Marco, who threatens him again. Marco warns, "Don't try anything clever or you'll die." Ethan counters, "The plane you're targeting has 2,000 passengers. Marco replies coldly, "If it doesn't go on the plane, I'll use it here, where there are 60,000 people. It's your choice. Save 2,000 or 60,000. Confused and scared, Ethan asks, "Why do you want to kill so many people?" Marco answers, "I don't want to kill anyone. I'm just doing my job. Let me do it." The scene returns to the scanning lines. Ethan's co-worker informs him. Someone called the police from the airport asking for an officer named Ethan. The police answered, but Ethan didn't say anything. Shortly after, a police officer died unexpectedly. Something fishy is definitely going on. Meanwhile, Elena is on her way to the airport but is delayed. She sends another team ahead of her and they shut down all the scanning lines. With scanning halted, Ethan's boss gathers everyone to investigate suspicious people. Thinking quickly, Ethan uses his boss's scanner to enter Marco's man's name into the system. Outside, Marco saw a police officer escorting his man to another room. Marco asked Ethan, "What's going on?" But instead of answering, Ethan said, "I'm sorry, I can't stay with you now," and removed his airport earpiece. He immediately rushed to find his wife, wanting to save her. When he found her, he noticed a laser pointed at her head, a sign that someone had a gun aimed at her. Realizing any wrong move could cost her life, Ethan quietly returned to the bathroom, terrified. Marco followed him there and started attacking him. In self-defense, Ethan pulled out his taser and aimed it at Marco. Marco angrily said, "You'll never do the right thing, you've made too many mistakes, and now you'll face the consequences." With that, he activated the bomb in the bag and said, "Before, only 2,000 people would have died. Now 60,000 will die." The bomb was set to destroy the entire area in 10 minutes. minutes. Marco added, "If you want to save everyone, go to the suitcase, and I'll tell you how to deactivate the bomb." Ethan ran to the security room where the bag was being checked. He hesitated but pointed his gun at his boss. Before he could act, another man grabbed a pen and fatally stabbed the boss in the neck. Enraged, Ethan captured the man and demanded, "Why did you kill him?" The man replied, "They've kidnapped my brother. If I don't do what they say, they'll kill him." Then Ethan contacted with Marco and asked for instructions to deactivate the bomb. Following Marco's guidance, Ethan managed to deactivate it at the last second, just moments before an explosion could occur. Meanwhile, Elena was rushing to the airport with a federal agent. Suddenly, she received a call from another agent who told her, "The agent with you isn't real. The real federal agent has just arrived at our police station." Shocked and alarmed, Elena pulled her gun on the man beside her. In response, the fake agent sped up the car, trying to crash it. He succeeded, causing a major accident that left both of them severely injured. The fake agent didn't want Elena to reach the airport. After the crash, we see him still clutching her throat. Elena frees herself from the man choking her, grabs her gun, and shoots him. She escapes from the car crash and heads out. Meanwhile, Ethan is following Marco's instructions and carrying the suitcase to the plane's cargo area. Marco contacts the man helping Ethan with the suitcase and gives him one last order. "You need to kill Ethan." Hearing this, the man points a gun at Ethan from behind. Luckily, Ethan notices the reflection in the glass ahead and reacts quickly, attacking the man. A fight breaks out between them. The man tries to shoot Ethan multiple times, but accidentally shoots himself instead and dies. Taking the opportunity, Ethan grabs his phone and tries calling his wife, but she doesn't answer because she's busy. Then Ethan calls his friend and tells him that his wife's life is in danger. His friend rushes to warn her. Meanwhile, Nora keeps trying to call Ethan, but his phone is locked away. At the same time, Elena reaches the airport and locks it down completely. Back in the cargo area, Marco shoots Ethan, injuring his leg. Even though he's hurt, he keeps running. Marco says, "I'll let you go if you just give me back the suitcase." Ethan places the suitcase near the cargo area and moves away. At this moment, Elena arrives and finds Ethan. He quickly pushes her aside and runs, shouting, "My wife's life is in danger. I need to save her." Before leaving, he tells Elena everything about Marco. Meanwhile, Nora reaches the parking area where Riley shows up to kill her. Riley had hacked everyone's phones and found out that Ethan had warned Nora. Just as Riley is about to shoot her, a gunshot rings out and Riley collapses to the ground. It turns out the person who shot Riley was the brother of the man who had been carrying the suitcase and died earlier. Riley had kidnapped and blackmailed him to do Marco's work. Ethan realizes this and tells the brother the truth. His sibling sacrificed his own life to save everyone. Hearing this, the brother is heartbroken. The problems weren't over yet. Ethan had to stop Marco from carrying out his plan, but it was too late. Marco had already boarded the plane. However, Ethan had done something clever. He placed a new tracking sticker on Marco's suitcase. This meant that Marco's location could be tracked at all times. After scanning the suitcase, Ethan confirmed that Marco was on the plane. He immediately told his wife, "Go to the airline department and try to stop the plane from taking off. I'll go and stop Marco. If the plane doesn't take off, Marco will detonate the bomb right here. I know how to disarm it." Nora quickly informed Elena, who was trying to stop the takeoff. Nora said, "Let the plane take off. If it doesn't, Marco will activate the bomb. Ethan is on the plane, and he knows how to deactivate it. He'll handle it." Meanwhile, Ethan reached the plane's cargo area just in time. The plane took off, and he began trying to deactivate the bomb. As he opened the suitcase, Marco gets notification and realized Ethan had boarded the plane. To protect his mission, Marco went to the cargo area and started shooting at Ethan. One bullet hit Ethan's leg again. Marco then tried to retrieve his suitcase, which was stored in the freezer. When Marco opened the suitcase, he realized the bomb's dangerous chemical was no longer inside. It was now in Ethan's possession. Hearing the gunshots, the pilot realized there was an armed person on board and decided to return the plane to the airport. Ethan cleverly pushed Marco into the freezer and threw the chemical inside before locking the freezer door. The chemical exploded inside, freezing Marco's body completely in under a minute, killing him. Ethan's mission was successful. He saved the lives of 2,000 passengers. When the plane landed back at the airport, the police surrounded it. Elena also arrived. The police tried to arrest Ethan, but Elena, who knew the entire story, ordered them to let him go. Ethan quickly ran to his wife and hugged her. In the final scene, it is revealed that Marco's entire plan was part of an assassination attempt on a Russian officer, but now everyone was safe and they peacefully celebrated Christmas. The story ends here. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to give the video a like.